Welcome to, this is a Skype webinar with Mary. So I did a number during the pandemic. So we're not in a pandemic now. We're just going to do some more because they were very popular. We're doing a subject today that is about side hustling, and I'm going to start in a minute with a PowerPoint. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go through the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint's quite short. It won't take very long. It's a maximum of about 20 minutes. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to ask about your own chart, which I'm sure, I know I've sent everybody their chart. There's a specific section of your chart that you'll need to be looking at while you're considering what is happening. If you have got your microphone turned on, can I remind you now to please turn it off? Hello? So somebody's trying to call into this, which isn't going to work. I'm going to see if I can merge her. I think you're in there. Right. Okay. Mariangela, thank you very much. If you just like to turn your sound off, that's great. Thank you. So I'm now going to share my screen, and we're going to hopefully you should be able to, it'll take a few minutes for this to come through, and you should be able to see what I've written. So let's just go back to the beginning. So we're doing a Skype Astro meetup with Mary. My name's Mary English, and this is a side hustle webinar. So what we'll be learning, what a side hustle is, and ways to do it, and where to get ideas in your Astro chart. So what's a side hustle? A side hustle is a way to earn extra income in addition to your normal occupation / income. It's not a way to support yourself 24/7. That would be a totally different webinar. This is work that would only take a few hours a week, but could bring enough income to allow for treats like holidays, days out, or gifts. Around 35% of Brits currently have a side hustle, and according to Simply Business, you could earn up to approximately £5,000 a year, and in US dollars, that's 6,390 at today's exchange rate, extra a year. I do need to point out at this moment in time that if you do live in the UK, the HMRC tax people from the 1st of January, if you earn any extra income above £1,000, they're going to go after you. So if you were to earn that £5,000, you'd have to pay tax on it. So please make sure, and I'm not a tax advisor, but I need to add that in there because it's now an item, which it wasn't when I wrote the webinar. So how does astrology help? We need to look at our second house of money, not the 6th house of work or the 10th house of career. So the second house is how, why we make money and our attitude towards it. Now we need to find out what sign that house starts in and match the following work with the sign of that house. So here's an example of a second house, the second house location and equal house. So in this chart, the second house starts in the sign of Virgo. Now, depending on how big the screen is that you're looking at this, you should see the initials AC and the numbers 2709. So this person has a Leo ascendant. So you won't see the symbol for Leo because I've just cut this chart up a bit. You'll see the P for Pluto. You'll see the symbol for Virgo. And because the ascendant is in the sign preceding Virgo, this second house starts in the sign of Virgo. So this is a little snippet of my chart. I've got a Leo ascendant, 27 degrees into Leo in 9 minutes. I've got Pluto in the first house. Won't come on to that. But second house, you'll see, starts in the sign of Virgo, but a big chunk of it is Libra. But it's the starting sign that we need to pay attention to. Now, if you've got a late degree, so whatever the ascendant sign is, the sign that that second house starts in will be the next sign. So in this example, this person has a 29 degree Libra ascendant. So the second house starts at 29 degrees Scorpio, because that's the next sign of the zodiac. So even though there's a lot of second houses in the sign of Saggy, and Neptune's retro there in Saggy, we're only paying attention to the fact that the house starts in the sign of Scorpio. Okay. Early degrees. So you could have an early degree in your ascendant. I have done all your charts. Not that many of you got early or late degrees. Most of you got medium degrees. But anyway, with this chart example, this person here has ascendant of 2 degrees Leo. So you'll see the little red symbol for Leo on the left-hand side there in the planet Uranus. You'll see the symbol for Virgo. That's the M with the little curly tail on. See P for Pluto there, and the second house is 2 degrees Virgo because the ascendant is 2 degrees Leo. Next sign in zodiac's Virgo, so their second house starts in the sign of Virgo. So these are the signs of the zodiac and the work that they do. Now, these might not be side hustling things. These are just sorts of jobs and work that different signs of the zodiac like to do. So when we talk about Aries, we think of things like engineering, car, sports, armed forces, work requiring initiative and action. Taurus, singing, gardening, banking, looking after buildings, food making, anything to do with luxury or comfort. Gemini, writing, teaching, journalism, advertising, sales, travel, visiting, collecting or sharing information. If you've got any mates that are Gemini, they'll love to tell you something that they've just found out, okay? Now, I know that you're going to have millions of questions at the end of this webinar. Don't worry, I'm going to go through it, okay? So Cancer, catering, hotel work, laundry work, nursing, work related to the needs of women and domestic needs. Leo, entertainment, theatre, jewellery making, cosmetics, creative expression with children, young ones, not teens. I tend to think that people that work best with teens are Scorpios. Leos work best with little kiddies. Virgo, health and care, therapies, service occupations, serving the public, editing, writing and detailed work. Libra, beauty and fashion, counselling for couples, law, diplomacy, the arts, consulting. Scorpio, soul midwife, death doula, sex work, sex toys, therapy, occult work, secret work, suicide prevention, tarot and psychic work. Sagittarius, religion, preacher, travel agency, long distance, short distance is Gemini, long distance is Saggy, adventure booking, lecturing, importing and exporting foreign goods. Capricorn, public work like councils, local groups organiser, government work, corporate work, big business advisor. Aquarius, anything in tech, computers, internet, online astrology, that's us. Social movement, social change, inventive, weird, unusual work or products involving groups, not individuals, and electrical products. Pisces, footwear, psychic work. Footwear, by the way, because Pisces rules the feet, okay, so slippers, anything like that. Psychic work, photography, music, poetry, film, helping addicts or alcoholics, sleep, dream therapies or products, sea, water or beaches work. Now, these are side hustle job ideas based on the signs. So if your second house starts in any of these following signs I'm going to go through now, these are the side hustle job ideas. This PowerPoint will be saved as a PDF and will be shared with you after the webinar because I don't expect you to be able to remember all of this. But anyway, ideas now. Aries, dog walking, personal trainer, exercise classes, water sports instructor. Taurus, renting out your spare room short term and or renting out your drive, house sitting, gardening, grass cutting, car washing, all the things a Boy Scout would do. Gemini, delivering groceries or shopping, Uber driving, creating or teaching e-courses, writing articles or blogs. Cancer, laundry or ironing services locally. Cancer's very about local things, not international. That's Saggy. Leave it to the Saggies. Pet or babysitting. I've written sitting there twice, excuse me, I've just noticed. Clothes altering, mending, baking, cake making. Remember the vegans? Selling used or vintage goods, selling or making home crafts, crochet, knitting or sewing. Leo, now I know somebody who does this, film extra, managing social media accounts, promoting local businesses, helping local schools or nurseries, or even DJing. Virgo, Second house Virgo, okay. Product testing, review writing, editing or proofreading, data entry, house building or cleaning. Libra, you could be an Avon rep selling cosmetics. You live in the UK, you could probably do Neil's Yard. Modelling clothes for shoots, beautician, interior design, anything to do with beauty. Second house Libra, okay. Second house Scorpio, mystery shopper, hosting a death cafe. Okay, if you want to ask about that, do ask. Online researcher, suicide prevention, soul midwife. Again, if you want details on that, I'll give it to you afterwards. And psychic work. Sagittarius, giving tours of your local city or village or one near you. Translation services, hosting a foreign student. Capricorn, organising council or government meetings, managing local organisations, becoming a PA to a local leader of some sort. Aquarius, virtual assistant, teaching English online, website design, tech help, group work like forest schools. Pisces, music, guitar, instrument teaching, coaching, prison asylum work, psychic work, that type of thing. So now I'm going to go on to a chart. This is a real person, a real living person, and they don't want their details shared. So I can't tell you too much about them. They're happy for the chart to be shared, but not anything else. But this person is a professional healer. They've got a Taurus ascendant, Sun in Cancer, and Moon in Libra. If we go back to the chart again, you'll see Taurus, so that's the green symbol there with the little horns on. You can see that goes all the way to their second house, which then their second house starts in the sign of Gemini. Gemini is that yellow symbol with two little curves on. Okay, so their second house is in the sign of Gemini. So their second house starts in the sign of Gemini, and they've written 4 books so far. They also have Chiron located there, and their work definitely assisted and assists those that are hurt. So when this person first started out doing a side hustle, they were very young, and they're a sun sign Cancer, and their mother became ill, and then they discovered that they had healing powers, and that's how they got started on their journey of being a pro healer. Okay, so they never would have done this if mummy hadn't been ill. But they have made their side hustle from books, because let me tell you, writing books doesn't bring you a fortune unless you're J.K. Rowling. Now we're going to talk about my Auntie Barbara. So here she is. She's got a Virgo ascendant, Sun in Aquarius in the 6th and Moon in Aries. So I'll go back to her chart again. You'll see the little symbol for Virgo, the little squiggle, green, and then you'll see Libra starts in the 2nd sign. If you want to know which house, where the numbers are, they're right in the center of your chart. So you see number 2 is Libra. So she was a hairdresser, but carried on doing that after she married. She mostly worked in elderly care homes. She also let out a room in a house and had lodgers, but she spent a considerable amount of her spare time going and cutting people's hair. So this is in addition to being a mother. So she had a child, my cousin. She only had the one child, but she did do a lot of hairdressing, and she would either visit people in their homes. She stopped doing that though, and she just used to visit them in the elderly care homes, and she did quite a good side hustle with that. She wasn't a high income earner, but she did enough to be able to, I can't remember what her hobby was now. Knitting, I think she made enough money to get the yarn. Now, you can have a planet in your 2nd house. So this is just a quick run through of how the planet in your 2nd house might modify what you've got going on there. It won't change the 2nd house sign, because the sign your 2nd house is in is the sign it's all about. That's where you need to be considering things. So this is just a quick rundown of the ideas for those planets. So if the sun's there, you want to do fun things that make you and others shine. If your moon's there, you need to do emotional things, huggable things. Mars, you need to be active, not passive. Venus, love, beauty, that type of thing. Jupiter, that's nice. Jupiter in your 2nd house of money. Ooh, money will just come your way. International connections, that's a Jupiter thing. And Saturn is serious connections. You've got Saturn in your 2nd house, then you need to take earning an income seriously. If you've got Uranus there, it's all about freedom and unusual attitudes. Now, these three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, aren't going to influence your earning capacity, but they might influence it in some way. So of those charts that we shared earlier, there was a Neptune in the second house. So we've got psychic ability, but you need to also watch out for things like addiction. So too much Neptune going on, you can go totally the other way. Pluto, it's about deep change and generational change. Now, there could be extra objects in there. So in our healer example, they had Chiron there, so that could be being the healed themselves, need to be healed, or they could be a healer. Okay, that's what they were. North nodes, that's your life purpose, and the part of fortune, if you've got that in your second house, please let me know. I didn't add it into your charts that I sent you, but you'll be able to find it on astro.com. That's a jolly lucky thing to have in your second house, and it means maybe money flows your way. So Jupiter and part of fortune in your second house, you're not going to have too much of a problem being able to earn an income. I put there links to ideas about side hustles. So we've got Skint Dad, great website, all about side hustles. Money Saving Expert, another great resource. They've got a specific forum on there, so that link will take you to the forum. And if you're in the US, there's an article there about the best side hustles for 2024. Question time. So please unmute yourself to chat or ask a question. Please keep your queries concise so everyone can have a chance. And if you want to use the chat function to write a question, because you don't want to have your microphone on, that's fine, please do that. But please note any in-depth questions will need a consultation to unpack. So thank you. I hope this has helped. Okay, anybody? So there's 18 of you here. Hello. So we had an extra addition while we were talking. So anybody got any questions?
I have written one in the chat. You, I think, forgot to mention Mercury in the second house.
Oh, okay. Mercury's the planet of communication. Did I? Oh, I didn't put Mercury in the. Sorry, brainstorm. I've got Mercury retrograde. Okay, so I'll stick that into the PowerPoint. But Mercury's all about communication, so anything to do with communication. Your Mercury might not be in the same sign as the sign that your second house starts in, but overall, it's going to add the communication element to whatever it is that you're getting up to financially. So the second house is our money and our attitude towards it. It's not our work that we do every day. That's the 6th house. And it's not our career either. That's our 10th house. But if we're just talking about our attitude towards money and how we might be able to make a bit more. So I've got a Leo ascendant and second house Virgo. I've written 17 books. But before I did that, I wrote blog posts and edited various different publications and wrote for magazines and stuff, and I always did that on the side, so I did get a small income from that. So Mercury in the second house is about communication. Good question, thank you for pointing that out.
Mary, did you mention the North Node in the second house?
Yeah.
Okay.
So who's asking the question? Lynn?
Lynn. Yeah, it looks like I've got, I'm kind of split between two signs, and I've got the North Node.
Yes, you have. Okay, so your second house, so I've got all everybody's charts. I won't share because it's for you to have, but your second house starts in the sign of Gemini, so it's all those communication things. And yes, you've got your North Node there. Your North Node is in the sign of Cancer, so you need to involve your family or something to do with your family in some way. So you've got that extra in there. That might not actually, I mean, so you could do some sort of communicating about families or in family, but it's not the sign that your second house starts in. That's Gemini. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So it's basically got two things in there. Quite a lot of times in the equal house system, all the time in the equal house system, unless your chart starts at 0 degrees of whatever sign of the zodiac it is, there's always going to be 2 signs of the zodiac in every house, which I do cover in my book, Enjoying Equal House. So if you want to know more about houses, then absolutely buy my book, Enjoying Equal House, which is available as an ebook and also as a physical book, and it's on Amazon.
Hi, Mary. I had a question, but I think you may have just answered it. It was mine is on 0 degrees. My 0 degrees that Virgo in the second house, but that's assuming it's equal house.
Yeah. Is that Rita asking?
It is. Yeah, I've got my hand up. I don't know whether you.
Yes,
I had my hand up. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's so we're using equal house, so that does make it 0 degrees Virgo then. Whereas if it was another house, it would be probably not.
So what's your ascendant? 0 degrees.
Leo.
Yes, next time the zodiac's Virgo, absolutely. Yeah, you're the same as me. Because I've got a Leo ascendant, second house Virgo. Yeah. So have you got any planets in your second?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, neither do I. And a lot of people worry that because they've got no planets in whatever house it is, it's a horrible thing, or they're going to starve, or they're not going to have any money, or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Everything's got a sign to it. And in the Enjoying Equal House book, I do explain a technique where you can use the ruler to the second house and get more information on possibilities to do with your second house. I won't go into that in this webinar because it'll just confuse things. But yeah, Virgo second house, you can do all those writing, researching, dotting the I's and crossing the T's type of things. Absolutely.
Sorry, just to follow on from that. So that's you kind of mentioned proof editing and publishing something else. Is that another house? Or writing, as in like writing novels, etc. Does it come under that the Virgo sign?
Yes, you can still do all of those things. Publishing is slightly different from writing. I mean, if you're self-publishing, you probably could, but publishing as a thing, because it's quite a marketing type of Leo sort of thing, if we're thinking about signs of the zodiac. But then if you're publishing yourself, that's individual. If you're publishing or you're employing a publisher, don't get me started, but there's all different ways of writing books, and for the books to get out there, you can do it yourself, you can get other people to do it, or you can get other people to get other people to do it, type of thing. Yeah. But you could do the whole thing from start to finish. I've self-published and I've been published, and I've got Virgo on the second house. Yeah.
Okay, lovely.
Thank you. So I'm just going to go through the questions that we got in the chat. So we've got Fatima and Mary have both got Mercury, so hopefully I've answered that. So she has asked, how can you combine the energy of the moon and Mars together? Shia, do you want, I think I've got your chart. Hold on, let me just see what sign your moon and Mars are in. Have I got your chart? Where have I hidden you? I don't. Oh yes, I have. Shia, you're there. I've got them all alphabetical in my folder and you disappeared. Here we go. Right. So how can, oh, okay, yes, right. You've got a very active second house. Dun, 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 look going on there. So your moon's in Cancer, moon's happy in the sign of Cancer. That's a natural ruler to it. Each sign of the zodiac's got a planet that looks after it. And the one that looks after Cancer is the moon. And Mars is about action, aggression, and energy. Now, remember, of course, that your second house starts in the sign of Gemini. So you've got all of those communicating, writing, getting on with other people type of thing. But you could do that to families because Cancer's the sign of the family. Luckily, your moon and your Mars aren't conjunct. They're separate. There's quite a few degrees apart from them. But you need to take into account that anything you do to do with money, because your moon's in the second, you're going to feel emotional about it. Eek! So you look at your bank balance and it's 0. You're going to go, oh. So the emotions are going to be quite involved a lot in what you get up to with your second house for sure. And Mars, you need to take, the way to make Mars energy better is take some exercise. So maybe do an exercise class or communicate or write about exercise classes, write a blog about them, that type of thing. Yeah. Does that help? I hope it does. So any insight into Scorpio's second house with Pluto in it? So we've got Brandy has asked that one. Let me have a look at your chart. So, okay, so Pluto's a generational planet And Scorpio is the natural ruler to Pluto, but you've got your Pluto in Sagittarius. So your second house starts in the sign of Scorpio, so all that psychic stuff. So psychics and secrets and things that aren't in the public eye is the best thing for a Scorpio second house, and equally Pluto there. So you'll want stuff that's going to change but not be obvious. Scorpio's almost the opposite to Leo, almost but not quite, not literally in the zodiac, but just the way that it tackles things. Scorpio wants to be, if you're at a party and you're chatting to a Scorpio, they're not going to suddenly dash onto the dance floor. They're going to snuck away somewhere in the corner and probably not tell you too much. So if you've got your second house, your money house in the sign of Scorpio, then don't tell everybody how much you earn. What you do need to keep into account is with your Pluto there, because that's a generational planet, that you probably need to be doing something that your generation does. You can't buck Pluto. Uranus you can, but not Pluto. I hope that helps. Sheer Gemini, I covered that. Okay, Mary, and generational trauma. Yeah. Alison, I think you forgot to attach my chart in the email you sent me. Oh, Alison, I apologise. I might have forgotten to attach it, but I have it here, so I will send it to you after the webinar. I'll let you know that your second house starts in the sign of Libra. Okay, so I'll make myself a little note to send your chart. So that's Alison, send chart. So LS has asked if Saturn's in the second house. You said that makes one take work seriously. Does that make the second house focus on side hustle work stronger, or on a similar level to the sixth house of work, 10th house of career? Well, yes, you need to take your income seriously, because the second house isn't the house of side hustling. It's just ideas for side hustling. The second house is all to do with our attitude towards money. Now, modern astrologers talk about the second house as being our, so they don't just talk about it being money, but they talk about it as being about value, how much we value ourselves. It's not really that. It is, in traditional astrology, it's just dosh. It is literally money. So if you've got Saturn there, then you need to take your finances seriously. Now that does depend what sign it's in. And if your name begins with L, I've only got, I think you might be Lisa S. Let me have a look. I've got your chart. Please, let me see yours. Yes, your Saturn's happy there because it's in the sign it rules. So Saturn and Uranus are rulers to the sign Aquarius, and your Saturn is in the sign of Aquarius. It is retrograde, so you won't want to do everything the same as other people, and your second house is in the sign of Aquarius, so you need to do something financially that's original and different and not the same as everybody else. Yeah, but Saturn's happy there because it's happy in that sign. Aquarius, yeah, so I've just covered that, Val, second house, no planets. So Aquarius is about freedom. I've covered in the webinar itself the side hustle ideas for second house Aquarius. So second Aquarius is all about groups, not about individuals. So it's stuff that's about collective. The collective, online stuff works well with second house Aquarius. So attitude towards money is Aquarius, is because they are Aquarius is the sign that rules online stuff. So everything to do with AI and computers and all the rest of it, that's an Aquarius thing. So Aquarius rules the sign Aquarius. Yeah, you're welcome. Dawn, oh, I'm sure I did, darling, send your chart to you. So you might have to dig it out, but I'll look at your chart. Hold on. It'll be in one of the emails that I sent you. Your second house starts in the sign of Scorpio. So go back through the PowerPoint, which I'll email you to you later. But and you've got Neptune there as well. So maybe you need to get yourself a deck of tarot cards and explore that, because your Neptune's there and your Venus is in the sign of Sagittarius, or something international. Now, whether or not you've got the confidence to do that's a different matter altogether. But anything that's mysterious or deep or that type of thing, yeah. Interested in working with young ones, not teens. Can you clarify what not teens and which sign would work better with? Okay, so second house in Leo is interested in working with young ones, not teens. Can you clarify why not teens and which sign would work better with teens if another sign better applies? Scorpio works better with teens than and Capricorn, actually, because they're not going to take any SHIT. Leo's so nice and sort of friendly and amenable and stuff. If somebody was to do a grumpy face to them, that would really upset. This is the sign or a person that is Leo, yeah. You could work with young ones because it's all about fun and creativity. That's what Leo is all about. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Could I ask a question?
Of course you can.
I'm very curious to know if, because the second house would most likely fall into signs, let's say mine is Libra and then Scorpio, would I consider the energy of both? And would I look at the planet that sits in the second house, even if it's in the Scorpio side, which is where the house continues to, if it makes sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, your second house, as I mentioned just earlier, that if you use an equal house, in fact, most house systems, each house is going to be in two signs of the zodiac, unless you're using the whole sign method, which is Chris Brennan. Yeah, so your second house starts in the sign of Libra. So as I was talking about my auntie Bar earlier on, she did things associated with beauty. You need to take into account that your Pluto's there, so you can't do anything too fluffy. So there would have to be some deeper meaning to it. And your Pluto's in its natural sign home. So Pluto is the planet that rules the sign Scorpio. The other older ruler to it is Mars, that rules the sign Scorpio, and yours is retrograde as well. So we need to take that into account. So it's a generational planet. There needs to be some sort of deep change in your attitude towards how that you earn your money. So that's a background to the sign that it starts in. Does that help?
Yeah. I just have way too many interests. That's my problem.
You are a Pisces, so you are a mutable sign. Your moon is in Virgo, which prefers to be precise. Yes, you're going to have lots of ideas. Your Mercury's in Aquarius. That's where the difficulty lies, because it's in a different sign to your sun sign. When our Mercury's in a sign that's not our own sign, because that's the way that Mercury happens to orbit. And quite a lot of people, I've got a whole podcast on that, Mercury in a different sign to your sun sign. But your Mercury's in Aquarius in your fifth house and is continually coming up with new ideas and wanting to do something different, not wanting to take orders. That's your thinking planet, whilst your sun sign is dreamy Pisces and just wants to go up there and be connected to the cosmos. So you're going to have to be a little stricter with yourself, unfortunately, to be able to manifest those ideas. Pisces is one of the signs of the zodiac. That Capricorn and Sagittarius are more likely to be distracted. All the mutable signs are easily distracted, Gemini being probably the most distractible sign. So we not only do we have to take into account the sign our second house starts in, we've got to remember the sign of the sign that our sun's in, you know, the sign of the zodiac of who we are, because without knowing who we are, we're not going to be able to operate anything else. Never take a house on its own. We have to take a house in conjunction with everything else. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, it's just I'm kind of torn between two specific ones. I did as a side hustle before. I'm really good with upholstery, so I did physical manual, like sewing things. But at the same time, I also am qualified to be an angelic Reiki healer, and I'm really interested in that side of things as well. So
who says you can't do both?
Yeah, true.
I mean, I don't just do this. I'm a homeopath and I'm also a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
And I crochet in my spare time, but I certainly don't put it on Etsy. But I have done other things in the past in addition to what I do. And my job is 3 jobs: astrologer, therapist, and homeopath. So yeah, do more than one thing. And anyway, one thing might balance out as being better. Do both. Goodness me, there's no rules.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Mary, it's Lynn again. I do have a question. Did you just say that Gemini can be distracted?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense for me because I feel like I can't decide where to focus my attention. And that totally makes sense when you said that.
Yeah. Of all the signs of the zodiac that are most distracted, but I mean, you've got to look at it as a positive as well. I've got moon in Gemini. It means that I could do more than one thing. I mean, I can sort of do 2 things at once, which isn't terribly clever, but Gemini is the sign that is most easily distracted. And the way to get round that is to do more than one thing, sort of like spinning plates in the air type of stuff. I mean, I tend to recommend to Gemini people, so people that are sun sign Gemini, that if they get bored, because they like to move house a lot, move the furniture, make it different what you're doing. Change is so important to that's the person who's a Gemini. Change is infinitely important for them. They don't want to look or hear or feel the same thing every day. There has to be variety, otherwise they're terribly floppy things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Let's have a look in the chat, see if we got any more questions. You found it. Great stuff. Lovely. I'm not saying that Leo wouldn't work with teens. I'm just saying that Leo would have a harder time with a grumpy teen. I'm not saying teens all over, but I do know people that have worked, Leo sun sign people that work much better with smaller children. And I also know people that work with grumpy teenage people. And don't forget, there can be teens that are jolly nice, but there are some people that when they hit their teen years get grumpy, and that's not something that Leo enjoys doing. Hope that makes sense. So there's lots of things to think about with your chart. Remembering, of course, quite rightly, as pointed out just now, not to forget the sign of the zodiac that you are. It'd be pointless to try and attempt something that's suggestive of the sign of your second house if it doesn't resonate with who you are. The focus will always be on your sun sign and your moon sign. Remember, of course, that your moon sign probably can overpower your sun sign because the moon is the subconscious, but we won't get into that in this webinar. But these are just little ideas to give you about things that you could do with your second house. Those are the jobs that I've listed that are side hustle jobs, are accepted side hustle jobs as opposed to jobs. So these are things where people actually have managed to make money on the side from doing things. Yeah. Oh yes, I was going to tell you about somebody I know that did make things and sold them on Etsy, and they had a regular job. So this is somebody in the UK. So they had a regular job, still got a regular job, but they were selling very nice items that they had handmade themselves on Etsy. And the tax office caught up with them, and it really was a downer. They would have had to have paid an enormous fine. I can't remember what the fine was, but I think the fine was something like £3,000. They hadn't even earned £500, but the fine for not declaring the income, because the way that it's geared in the UK at the moment is that any money you earn. So the platform that you earn the money on now has to report the money that you've earned to the UK tax authorities. So that's how it is now. So unless you're getting paid cash for stuff, you will eventually get caught up by the tax office, and that's what had happened to this particular person. So Etsy had to tell the UK government that this person had earned through their platform this amount of money. And in the UK, you're allowed to earn £1,000, and anything above £1,000, it has to be included in your tax return. And the maximum amount of money you can earn in the UK is approximately £12,000 before you have to pay any tax. Should we also think about our second house opposition squares and how those affect our second house signs and planets? You can definitely do that if you've got enough time to think about it. Those types of things give me a headache, but yeah, you can think about it. Remembering, of course, that oppositions and squares energize things. They're not negative. So if you have a planet opposite another planet, it gives both planets more energy because they're actually talking to each other. What's probably more difficult is if you've got a totally unaspected planet. So you've got some planet looping around in your chart that doesn't make any aspects. But as far as your second house and the money thing goes, you might have something in your 8th house, because the 8th house is other people's money and our investments. And I've got both of those empty in my chart. I don't have anything in my 2nd or my 8th, but it doesn't mean to say that nothing will happen there. But yeah, squares and oppositions, those are the, so in answer to your question, Lisa, that if you've got a square or an opposition to a planet that's in your 2nd house, there's a lot more activity going on with your 2nd. So something else is having a chat with it. So is that a positive, a positive discussion or something that might distract you or take your energy away from whatever it is that you're concentrating on? Yeah. So does anybody else have any further questions? Or anything they'd like to share about their 2nd house? Maybe you're already doing something that aligns with your 2nd house and you'd like to share that with us. And don't forget, of course, you can check all your family members. So you've got siblings or a partner or children or cousins or whatever, check their charts out. Haha, Fatima, you're an astrologer, well done.